okay isn't necessarily love. It's comfort. It's autopilot. It's two people emotionally coexisting, but not connecting deeply anymore. I'm saying this because I think people get so normalized to unhealthy relationships and they just crave to have one that just feels peaceful and just isn't stressful that they set their standard bar at just the basics, right? And so whenever they're in this space to where there is no turmoil, no drama, no chaos, no toxicity, they accept that as a win, even though they may be feeling severely deprived of the vibrance they want to experience in a relationship. And where, yeah, they have little moments where they try to push for it, they don't push too much, or they don't rock the boat too much, or they don't complain too much, because after all, it's hard to find someone you could just be with. So that's the win, right? But it couldn't be further from the truth. If your relationship feels like a roommate situation, a routine, or something you're just used to, you're not in a healthy relationship. You're in emotional maintenance mode, right? If you're lacking any of the vibrance that you require. And I promise you, you deserve better than that. Let's get into it. Let's talk about what a just okay relationship looks like, right? And in short and sweet, and I'll get into it, it looks like settling, right? But see, most people don't see it as settling because it doesn't look toxic on the surface, right? It looks quiet. And so it's not, immediately alarming. So people stay and continue to marinate in it. But what a just okay relationship sounds like, oh, that's different. It sounds like, oh, it's not that bad. We just don't talk that much anymore like we used to. I mean, it makes sense. You've been together for so long. What you going to talk about? Or I guess this is just what happens after a while. After you've been together for so long and, you get so used to each other, there's nothing more really to know, or you get used to your routine, just the way things kind of balance out. Or the good old, I mean, they're a good person, they're a solid individual, to where you start reasoning with yourself and trying to convince yourself that this is okay and it makes sense because they're not toxic or they're not a bad person, right? But see, if your favorite part about your relationship is the idea of not being alone at the end of the day when you think about it, that's not love, that's coping. See, what I need you to understand here is healthy relationship doesn't just mean no unhealthy things happening, right? Because I think some people can hear this and think, well, shoot, if there's nothing toxic or bad going on, then it effectively is healthy, right? But understand, you can have healthy interactions and rapport with someone, right? That's one piece. But the relationship portion of it is being relatable, relating to one another, having something that glues you, brings you together, bonds you, right? In a way that stirs vibrance between the two of you. Yes, you can say we're bonded together because we don't have to be alone because we're with each other, but that there's nothing that you're actually relating to in the sense of what feeds your spirits, your personality, what brings more life out of you. Because the whole point of a relationship is to add more to your life, more vibrance. Take the 10 that you should be on to 100, right? So it's not going to really be healthy if it's not feeding your spirit for you to grow and feel expansive and all the things, helping meet your core needs. So you can very much have not, you can have non-unhealthy practices going on that are not toxic and don't, cause you immediate harm physically, mentally, or emotionally, but still not be healthy for you ultimately, right? Because maybe it doesn't help you, feel like you're growing or evolving. Maybe it doesn't help you to feel special the way you need. Maybe you don't feel fulfilled, right? All really important things. Maybe you don't get a sense of uncertainty, the excitement and mystery that you need, to where there's nothing toxic. You're not, always questioning to feel reassured. You're not lacking for them, showing that they love you in whatever ways they do to show that they care, right? They do things to show you that you matter on some level. But if you're not getting the vibrance out of the equation, then you're still not getting what's required to be a whole, complete you. It's not healthy. But why do people stay in the safe but unfulfilling relationships? Well, let's talk about it. The most obvious reason usually is the fear of starting over. And sometimes that can be coupled with just the fear of being alone, right? But the fear of I've wasted all this time and I got to start from scratch, and that just sounds daunting. So they just stay away from that and just stay where they are. I'll stay with the devil I know versus trying to go deal with the one that I don't know, the mystery, that kind of analogy. Or they confuse stability with compatibility, which are two very different things. Just because someone can be stable with you doesn't make them compatible for you, right? Or they've internalized this belief that passion and peace can't coexist because maybe this is like the first healthier relationship they've had, right? So where all the ones in the past, there was always drama filled with it, and they never had the peace, but they had all the passionate roller coaster. And so they don't want to walk away from this because it's like, hey, I know it's supposed to be boring. Healthy is boring, right? And they've convinced themselves of this because all that they've known when it wasn't healthy was something chaotic, even though there was all sorts of emotions going on in it that gave them a sense of passion. Or the big one that kind of hits deep is they stay because of guilt for wanting more from someone that's not a bad person, but that person seemingly can't offer them what they actually need. But they feel like a jerk or horrible for wanting to walk away for that. They feel ungrateful, or they feel like they're being selfish, and they just, they're being spoiled or something, right? And they say, how could I think this way? There's so many people online complaining about having toxic partners and going through all this drama and just, all sorts of disrespect and all sorts of bad, painful things. And here I am complaining about not having X, Y, Z from my partner. Right? I better just figure out how to love them and stay and all that stuff. And they start convincing themselves that they're bad for wanting what they just require to be happy in a relationship. Now, see, it's one thing to, have all these super high expectations and, you're just being unreasonable by your definition, right? To where you want it all. Cake and eat it too. You want the 100%. You don't want the, the 80 and just, have to work with not having the 20%, right? To where you want perfection and whatever that looks like for you. That's one thing versus core fundamental things that you need that you're not getting. That's literally making the life experience you're having in this relationship lackluster, or it feels like draining to you. You don't feel inspired every day. You feel more fatigue, right? Because there's nothing pouring into you in the areas that you need it most, where you're literally starving for something. Not something that would be nice to have. You're literally not being the individual that you're built to be and blossoming fully and being as vibrant as possible because you're missing some core things that you need. And they're not a bad person for not giving it to you. Maybe just not the one that can give it to you, right? That's a big difference. You were not made to be numb in love just to avoid being alone. I need you to embrace that. Because see, what you actually deserve in a relationship is emotional safety and emotional depth. Not just that they hold space for you and you feel secure when you need to open up or confide in them, or that they're going to, pour into you whenever you're needing emotional support. No, you also need emotional stimulation. You need to feel a sense of vibrance from them, feel like you're intrigued emotionally by them. You're turned on in whatever way, not even just sexually, right? You're turned on in a passionate way towards them, a deepening of the love towards them, right? Or you feel like your emotions get supercharged to another tier whenever you get to enjoy them with them. You deserve communication that feels easy, not forced. Not just that they can communicate in a healthy way, but you always got to figure out what to say or how to navigate each turn, but it should feel more harmonious. You deserve it to feel organic, feel like you have your person that gets you in a communication way. Not saying you guys are always going to see everything eye to eye and you're always going to, be on the exact same page and same beliefs and all that, but you should be able to feel like you're harmonizing in flowing with chemistry with your communication and not like you're trying to figure it out all the time. And here's the thing. This is also so important because when you have someone to where the communication feels easy, you never run out of things to actually talk about. You look up, it's been years, and you're like, wow, we still find something to talk about all the time, right? It never dies off. I know with me and my partner, we it's mind blowing how much we just keep talking about new stuff day in and day out, and we spend a lot of time together and so forth. But there's always something new because the chemistry's right, right? You deserve that. You deserve to be able to have that feeling and feel excited to talk to your partner. If you're not feeling like your partner's one of the first people you want to tell whatever is going on in your life to, yeah, it's a problem somewhere in that. You deserve a partner who notices you, truly sees you, doesn't not just lives beside you, right? Not someone that's just laying next to you and you have someone, but you don't really feel like they see through the exterior of you into the soul of you, right? You deserve someone that you can feel that with. And not saying they have to know you like the back of their hand to some amazing degree, but you should feel like the person you're with actually gets you and not like you're always trying to figure out, do they understand? And most importantly, you deserve laughter, playfulness, growth. You deserve to feel like you have a battery charge on your back with your partner in your life. Like they add steroids to who you are and you do the same for them in return, to where it makes doing life with them something to look forward to versus something that you just expected daily routines like Groundhog Day, right? You deserve it to feel vibrant and be vibrant. Look, life is great and as horrible as we decide it is to ourselves, right? Well, we make it. And so if whatever's required for you to make life more exciting and exhilarating has certain components to that, then you deserve to have that in the experience with your partner. Either they can contribute to that or they cannot. And it's okay if they can't. They just might not be your person. Doesn't make you bad or shame. You should have shame for wanting that. No, it just means you have what you need, and maybe you got it wrong in choosing them as a partner that was going to be someone to provide it. And you came to learn that they couldn't. Maybe same for you to them. Who knows? But you deserve to have it. Point in case, you deserve a relationship that feels like oxygen, not obligation. But see, when you continue to normalize a just okay relationship that you might be in, eventually you stop growing, but you start resenting silently, right? Whether them or yourself for allowing yourself to be in this position. You start to make peace with being emotionally unfed, right? You start accepting that it's just a reality now, and you start, adopting to it, like, you're on, like you're fasting or getting used to not eating or something. And eventually you either give up or you wind up giving it to someone else. See, end of the day, understand settling does not protect your heart. It just prolongs the ache. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather get out of my suffering sooner than later to go and actually have what I want to have instead of trying to protect what I'm actually not getting in the first place. You were never created for lukewarm love. It's not what we're built on. No, you were created for full presence, for laughter that surprises you, for support that doesn't have to be begged for passion that doesn't need to be reignited because it never died. So you gotta stop calling it love when you're just surviving. You don't need to wait until it's toxic to leave, right? Trust me, I learned that the hard way. You don't have to wait for it to get to that point. You can leave when it's just okay, because your spirit and your soul deserve much more than just tolerable. Your heart should always be woken up in your relationship, not rocked to sleep. So if you're in a position to where you're kind of numbed out in your relationship and don't know what to do, right? Or want to just work on yourself to make sure you can have that relationship that only brings inspiration to you and only deal with partners like that, or try to build that in your relationship currently to see if it's there, or if you need to walk away, which that's okay too. It'll serve you both, no matter how you want to slice it. Then email or DM me the word coaching and we will get to work, only if you're truly ready to put that work in. Let's get it.